I don't wanna sit in a get with you, baby, tonight. I don't wanna love, I don't wanna fight. I don't wanna have to tell you all the things I know. I don't wanna stay, but I don't wanna go. I don't wanna be the lover in your arms. I don't wanna be the one to keep you from home. I don't wanna be the crooked person in your heart. I don't wanna stop, and I don't wanna stop. Part-time love, how we suffer now. And I don't wanna waste no more of your precious time. I don't wanna say that everything will be fine. I don't wanna feel your tears on my skin. I'm a coward, baby, don't let me in. Part-time lover, how we suffer now. I don't wanna sit in again with you, baby, tonight. I don't wanna love, I don't wanna fight. I don't wanna have to tell you all the things I know. I don't wanna stay, but I don't wanna go.
day. This is Thumbs United. It's actually nighttime where I am. It's 1 in the morning. They're going to do a late night creative stream. Yeah, so I'm about to get started. This is like all the footage we're going to go through. It was about a little over. It was like 5 hours of video footage, but I went through and kind of got rid of stuff that was just useless. So that's what all these gaps are. They were just footage I didn't want to show and everything. So I kind of glanced through everything, and this section is just going to be cutting down the footage for walking around New York City, Manhattan, Long Island, and some other places. And then there's some little bit of flying videos. It's just looking out the window of the airplane going there. So let's get started. Start our music. And have a relaxing, hopefully therapeutic, for me at least, time editing. And as you can see, this is the project is in 4K. What I do is I edit using placeholder media. So it's actually lower than standard definition video. But when I submit this to render, the server/Linux box will swap out the standard definition for the 4K versions, and it will render it, natively as 4K. But this way I can edit like 50 or 60 projects, and like with this project, there's over 5 hours of video footage, and so that's only 15 gigabytes with the compressed placeholder media. So I could easily edit this on my laptop. I could edit it on the desktop. It doesn't take much processing power, and that's how I can edit safely while streaming, because I do not have new hardware by any means. My processor came out in 2012. The other motherboard's even older than that, and the graphics card again is from like 2011, 2012. So it's really old hardware, but it has no problem editing using this system. It is an 8-core processor. It's the AMD FX processor, the predecessor to the Ryzen, which I'm hearing nothing but good things about. So I'm excited that maybe one day I'll work with the Ryzen, but pretty happy with the FX processor and everything. And it's great for when you're using Linux. It just glides through rendering like cutting through soft butter. Okay, so I'm gonna start working, and I'm just gonna be selecting the best parts of the footage. I'm not actually going to be arranging or anything. It's I'm going to lower you can set the preview resolution. It's actually the render resolution. So I make it lower, and then the computer has less of a hard time. And so this specific footage, I'll make it bigger so everyone can see it. Now I'll give you 10%. There we go. this footage is it's from my Canon. It's the Digital Rebel, the T3i, and I love this thing. Originally I had the 40D, and before that I had another Rebel. I had the first Digital Rebel, and there we go. So I'm going to be working faster. So I like two things from this clip. I like the people walking by, and then I like the traffic. So we're going to keep both of those. And then the people walking by here in the foreground. I'm going to keep that. Whoops. And so, like I said, it's the Digital Rebel T3i. It records movies. It's not in RAW, it's the MOV format, and it does it with an H.264 codec. And it's they're about 30 megabits per second. So it's a high bitrate video. But like I said, not RAW. And it is still H.264. It would be nice if it was ProRes, but the Rebels couldn't handle that. The Canon Rebels. The Rebels are kind of like the lowest DSLR from Canon. They're technically not even full 35mm. They're a cropped sensor, and they do it so you can cut down on the price. You can get a Rebel for between $600 and $800 depending on which Rebel you select, and they're really good. The majority of my photography is shot on the same sensor type as the Rebel. I believe it's called APC-C, and that just means the sensor is it still uses 35mm lenses, but the sensor is smaller than 35mm. So so there is a crop factor, and so if you put a 35mm lens, you have to multiply it by 1.7, and that's the actual focal length with the crop sensor. Because it's cropped, it automatically makes the image zoom in a little bit more. So 50 megapixel is like it's about a 50mm lens is closer to a 80mm lens in reality. I think I was accidentally recording for that one, but we'll keep it. And this is just handheld, so it's not that great. on this trip I actually did have a shoulder mount, but we were just walking at night, my family and I, and so I didn't feel like using the shoulder mount because it's kind of big and I didn't want to scare people or get mugged. But I did use it for some of the other footage. I was going to try to start streaming at 10, and that didn't work out. We had to go to the bank, and it's really stupid because this one bank, they closed. It's technically, I guess it's like an international bank, but it's all over the U.S., this bank, and they decided to close up shop in not just our town, but every town within about 30 miles of us, 30 or 40 miles of us. So if we want to go to the bank, it takes about 40 minutes to get there. And they did it on purpose. I mean, not for us, but because it's not a wealthier area. So we don't want to, service those people. So it was really, kind of, not sure of a polite way to do it, but it was really just kind of just obnoxious, I guess. Stupid and rude. But I have to get used to editing the video. I'm so used to doing the animation. Whoa. That I'm forgetting the commands. I used to be so fast at this. So far this footage looks good. It looks very kind of atmospheric, and I like the depth of field of working at night. It forces you to really keep your aperture as wide open as possible to let in as much light. So the depth of field is a lot shallower at night than you would during the day. I mean, you can do wide open apertures during the day, but that means your shutter speed has to be, to the max, especially if it's a sunny day. And the other way you can work around it is you can use a polarized filter, which will cut down on some of the light, and a polarized filter will also, you can see farther. It cuts through the haze of the atmosphere and stuff, especially on smoggy days. And then the other thing it does is it takes away reflections from like glass objects and everything. So that's kind of, you should always carry a polarizer for your lens. It just screws onto the front of the lens. And the one I use is what's called circular polarizer. And so you can actually rotate the lens filter, and it will make the polarization either stronger or weaker. So you can get it to the setting you like. So it's really good for outdoor photography. If you're taking photos of water and everything, and you want to kind of cut through the reflection, it's good for that. just cut off the trailing bit because the end of the video is always me pushing the stop record button, and so there's always a little bit of camera shake when I have to reach over to press that button. So I usually cut off the beginning clip and the end of the video no matter what. You just get rid of that extra camera wiggle. And like the footage here is really wiggly because I'm holding the it's just handheld, and it was a bigger lens. It was a zoom lens, a 28 to 135 millimeter lens, and it's my favorite lens, even on the crop sensor. I kind of noticed there was a person there, and I was like, uh-oh. So we're gonna stop it right here. And again, this isn't going to be like one episode. I'm just editing down all the kind of all the footage from me walking around New York. And then this is going to be kind of like the template, where then I'm going to take this, duplicate the project, and then divide the footage and the cuts into different episodes. So this might end up being like all this footage. That's essentially 4.5 hours of footage. Might end up being 15 or 20 episodes. This is a long clip. Oh, I see what I'm doing. There's a rat here. I couldn't see it to begin with. We'll start it there. And I don't know if you folks can see it, but there's like a rat right there. Just chilling. Getting whatever trash. There he is now. It kind of ends there. That's the last interesting thing from that footage. And this image, I love this video clip because you really see the depth of field, and they change. But I'm gonna cut that lady out. Her arm's okay, but I don't want the rest of her in there. And that's just useless footage. So I go. Yeah, I think I'm trying to attempt to do a sweeping shot, but it's not looking so good. And keep it to there. And then, for whatever reason, this was pretty much the only night I used my Canon for this particular journey. This is in 2016. This was I took a lot of photos on this trip, but just not a lot of videos with the Canon. And I can post in the link to photos. I have the link right here. So there are more the final photographs from this particular trip. They're in that link, and I made a photo book and everything. And so this is the video footage that goes with those photos. And then this switches. This is on top of the Empire State Building. Again, it was handheld. I actually brought my shoulder mount, and it's a smaller shoulder mount. It doesn't go over both shoulders, it only goes over one. But they went through my camera bag. There's like this whole security thing you have to go through. It's like you're getting on the airplane. And they went through my bag and they're like, what is this? Like they thought it was like a sniper rifle or something because of the tubing. It has like these metal rods that slide together and then lock. And I was like, it's a camera mount. And they were like, really? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, originally they weren't going to let me take it up. And I was like, well, who can I leave it with? And they're like, no. They let me take the shoulder mount, keep it in my bag. And it's a smaller bag. It's about the size of a small backpack. But it's enough to hold my camera lenses and a couple other cameras. And it's a Tamarack Expedition, I think 3. And anyway, they're like, I can keep it in the bag, but I'm not allowed to use it. So I was like, so it's not something you can sneak and use. But I always follow the rules. If you're in the museum and some places let you take photos, you only take photos where it says you can take it. So now we're getting into some of the 4K footage. And this is in 4K. I mean, not this exact video. This is, again, the placeholder video. But when it's rendered, there's a 4K version of this video. On this trip, I think, yeah, this was a different time we went to New York. We were all sitting in separate seats, and I was sitting next to this guy, and just non-stop talking away, talking to me. And I don't talk that much, ironically. That's just funny because now I stream and I talk non-stop. Which has been difficult to get used to. But this guy was, chit-chatting away with everyone. And I was just so tired. I'm always tired when I travel because like the night before, I'm staying up late. packing and making sure everyone else is ready. And then it's a whole production of getting to the airport. The airport's an hour away, and usually there's traffic. So it's like a lot of adrenaline pumping and nervousness. And so when you finally sit in the plane, the first thing I always do is like fall asleep. And I'm leaving a lot of this footage in so that I can choose that later. I'm just cutting off the end parts because it like that. We don't need to see my leg ever. But anyway, so this guy sitting next to me, he was talking nonstop. And then I took a couple of videos and he was like, oh, some people sell their footage. And I was like, I know, I'm part of the, not group, but I'm a contributor to Shutterstock. And I was like, yeah, you can put it on websites and then people pay for the footage and it gets used in documentaries and everything. And I was like, yeah. I know several people that do that. I was like, oh, that's interesting. And so we talked about that for a little bit. But then, then I was like getting sleepy. I was falling asleep, so I put on my headphones. So then he starts leaning over, and I'm in the window seat, obviously. So it didn't affect me. He was leaning the other way. But he starts, talking to everyone in the row. And then we are right up front. And it's not that it was business class. This flight didn't have business class. But yeah, he was just super social. Talking to everyone. Talking to people in the other row across from us. And then the flight attendant, she does her safety drill. And then we're in the air and he's talking non-stop to her and she's telling him all these stories and everything. I was like, wow, this guy is like Mr. Butterfly. And like in the past I've been social, but I've never been that social. I'm just gonna cut this in half. There's nothing there. I don't even know why I'm filming. I'm gonna save real quick. Oh, I see what I'm filming. So I'm actually filming this plane come in, so you can see. There it goes. There it goes. And there's a guy. We're almost to the point where it's our turn. moving too slow. Here we are. Turning onto the runway. And we're taking off. Let's play this. There's always a little takeoff. And here we go. Now, I'm never afraid of flying, but sometimes I'm like really amazed by it. And like especially if I'm sitting at the back of a plane. And oh, here's that guy talking to me. I just told you the conversation we had.
Some people do that. I like to archive things. I usually have a bigger camera, but I'm going on a short trip instead.
So here we go. So we go into the cloud. And anyway, so especially when I'm sitting at the back of the plane, it really hits you. Well, it hits me that, you know, you're sitting in the back and you see the entire length of the plane all the way to the front nose, and it's just like, this plane is heavy. You know what I mean? Like, they use lightweight materials, but you could fit, like, if you actually looked in the plane, in the luggage compartment and where the people sit, like, you could fit an RV or two inside of the plane, just kind of space-wise. And so I'm always amazed, like, we can get that gigantic of a object, you know, into the air. And I'm always, like, you know, impressed by the turbo fans, as they call them, but that's just the jet engine. And it's just like, what amount of power do they have to create to be able to push the plane at speeds, you know, fast enough to take off? And so it sounds like, you know, that's kind of scary, but to me it's just incredible. So I think I'm only going to be streaming. This is a short stream. I have to wake up early. I have a long bit of driving I have to do tomorrow. So I'm going to be editing for about 15 more minutes. And then wherever I am, I'm going to stop. And then I will be, we'll pick this up tomorrow, and it will be in the late afternoon. So I'm gonna try to stream probably around 7, but sometime between 7 and 10. And if I don't stream from then, I'll definitely start streaming at 11 p.m. tomorrow. Oh, anyway, so I was telling you guys about the whole story about the bank. The bank shut down all their branches in the cities next to us for like 30 miles. And so we have to drive like 40 minutes to get to this bank. It's really stupid. And so So that's what we did today. That's why I was late. My grandmother and my mom and I, we all went to the bank, and then once we were done with that, we went to go eat. We ate at this place called Mod Pizza, and it's like a Subway but for pizza, and they have gluten-free pizzas because I can't eat gluten. I'm allergic, and so that's nice that they offer that. But every time I go, I make a slightly different pizza, and so this time I think I created the perfect pizza. I hate mozzarella, and so I was like, no mozzarella this time, because like usually I'll suffer through it, but this time I was like, why do I have to suffer? And so I got no mozzarella. And like I have a big thing against mozzarella. It's like so chewy and gross, and what always happens is like there will be a piece that gets stuck on my front tooth, and then but I don't realize it, and so then I go to swallow and it like stretches and tries to like strangle me from the inside. I hate it. I hate the consistency, the texture. It's just not a good time. And so I got the pizza with no mozzarella, the tomato sauce, and then see, I already forgot what I got, and it was like so perfect. I got feta and parmesan, and then I put black olives, and that was it, and it was so good. Like, I hadn't eaten lunch, and we were eating around it had to have been like 8 or something, because it took us like an hour to get home. But and again, this is on top of the Empire State Building. But getting home, wow. Oh, first going back to the pizza. The pizza's so good. Usually I eat half the pizza and then save the other half. I ate the whole pizza. So I'm like, right now, it's been a couple of hours, and I'm ready to explode. But yeah, so eating is kind of what messed me up. I was aiming to start streaming at 10, and I thought, oh, I'll make it for sure. Not. And so again, this is I'm just taking pictures of kind of the street art and everything. Oh, and I should say, this footage, this is no longer 4K, this is 2.7K. This is going back to 2016. The footage of the airplane, that is 4K. But that was like 2017, the videos were taken. So this is 2016 with the Hero 3 Plus by GoPro. So that's kind of why the color space kind of changed. I'm recording in Pro Tune, which is GoPro's version of Log. And what Log is and what Pro Tune is it saves the image essentially without the white balance setting, and it also saves it's more uncompressed. There's still compression, but it's a bigger file size. And so what that means is you get a wider range of colors, but also adds a layer of haze because there's so much more definition and everything. And so what you have to do is you have to color grade log and ProTune to make it look good, but you have a lot more options of how to color grade. So if you wanted, you can, shift everything to be like you can set the white balance to being for incandescent light, even though you're outside in the sun, or you can be outside in the sun and set it to like fluorescent light, or you can set it to tungsten. You really have, you can change the white balance to whatever you want, and it won't degrade the colors. And it's very similar to working with raw, but raw is more uncompressed. There's like zero compression and that's kind of true for videos with raw, but ProTune and log, they are still compressed. And so this, even though it's 2.7K, it's still a higher bit rate. It's about 70 megabits per second. So that's better than the HD cameras I get. There's the GoPro Hero 2, which does HD. That one will get about 25 to 30 megabits per second. That's a shaky cam. I talked about it on a previous stream, but I built a Steadicam, and it looks pretty sketchy. Well, not a Steadicam, a glide cam, and just out of PVC, and it works pretty well. It took several tries to figure out how to use it properly. Yeah, I don't like this. It's kind of rude. I didn't realize I got that lady in my video, so I delete it. And so anyway, back to the glide cam. I attached it to a PVC. The whole thing's made out of PVC, but I attached it to a shoulder mount that I had made, and it works pretty well. The shoulder mount holds that kind of glide cam mechanic. It's like a gimbal with a weight on the bottom. It just helps you do walking shots more steady. And removes like shake and everything. It also adds like a floaty feel. And so there's a lot of camera gimbals that are like electronic and everything. They like cost big bucks. But this glide cam I was able to build with just parts I had around the house. But if I was going to build it from scratch, it might have cost like $15. So what's nice about this is I can use it with my 3D camera and the GoPro and my GoPro knockoff, the Yai. So we're only about 30 minutes in, so we have all that to do. So we're about a quarter, I would say. Well, maybe under a quarter of the way through. So that's pretty good for an hour of editing. I have to save famous last words. Oh, we edited for an hour and then it crashed and all the work we did we have to redo. That'd be terrible. And these are really short clips. I think they're almost 2 seconds long. Usually I like to do, when I take a video clip, I usually try to do 20 seconds, 20 to 15 seconds. But if you're walking with a group, sometimes, you have to stay with the group. So you can't really stand still for that long. But I try. Just taking video of the scaffolding and everything. And again, this is in Pro Tools, so it's going to take a lot of color grading and changing the curves to get it to the coloring and the contrast that I would like. I'm gonna get this guy. He almost made it. Almost. This is an interesting shot. Do. And this was like in the middle of the night. That's why there's no one really in the subway. Okay, we're just gonna edit these last 5 clips and then it's good night. It's taking me so long with this editing as I usually don't edit with audio. The light blue, the teal is the audio for the video. Normally I just cut it out, but I might need it, which is why I'm leaving it in. It's easier to leave it in than to cut all the audio out and then find out, oh, I need the audio for this one. Then I have to go and find the video and reload the audio from it. It's painful. I mean, it can be done, but I'm just going to kind of keep the audio for reference, even though I don't plan on using it. I mean, the speakers, not the speaker, the microphone on the GoPro is terrible. Okay, so I want to thank everyone for coming out. I'm going to be streaming again tomorrow between 7 and 10. If nothing bad happens, if something bad does happen, I'll probably start around 11 or 11 p.m. And the 7 to 10, that's p.m. as well, Eastern time. I do creative streams Wednesdays and Fridays. That's like the guaranteed time. And then if I have extra time, I'll do a creative stream Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. But that's only if I have extra time. And the Saturday, Sunday, Monday is just, there's no set time that I do it. And then I record a Let's Play live every Tuesday. So right now I'm playing Mass Effect 2. We just did the fourth Let's Play. So we're getting there. There's 10 Let's Plays to do for Mass Effect 2. And then I do a rerun of that Let's Play on Thursdays. So Tuesdays and Thursdays video games. Wednesdays and Fridays are creative. And yeah. Thanks for tuning in. I will see you tomorrow evening.